Welcome in to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today, I've got my 5 takeaway series covering stories from the NFL draft. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's go. So, on these takeaway videos, or at least this one, I'm going to focus on players who aren't going to make my buys or sells or sleepers, like Quinshon Judkins. He's not really a buy. It's not really a sell. I'm fine with him in his price. He's certainly not a sleeper. So, let's talk about him because I don't think I have really yet. He was a 36th overall pick in the second round to the Browns. That's far higher than I thought he would go. I did not think there was almost any chance he would go ahead of Trevion Henderson. That was like plus 800 to happen, but it did happen. I thought Judkins, if you'd asked me to set the over-under, would have been around 50, not in the top 40. That's a big difference. Running backs who go this early in the second round have a much higher hit rate than ones who go later. So Judkins is more likely than not to be a successful fantasy asset. Now, he might not be a workhorse on the Browns, but that's okay. They took Dylan Sampson in the 4th round. They renegotiated Jerome Ford's contract to keep him for 2025. So that's going to be their backfield. Judkins, Sampson, Ford. Okay. I mean, there are more threatening players than that. Now, Judkins was excellent as a committee back in 2024 with 194 carries, 1,060 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 22 catches, 161 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Of course, he played alongside Henderson in Ohio State, but he did really well in this type of role. He was very good. I don't want you to expect the world from Quinshon Judkins. Quinshon Judkins is not going to be a top 3 running back. That is not happening. But I'm confident he's going to be a plus running back, a good fantasy asset. So what does that mean for Quinshon Judkins? Great question. I would be happy to draft him, but only at a value. If he slips a bit, I'm fine with that. Spending the 106 or 107 in a Superflex rookie draft on Judkins, that's fine, but that doesn't excite me. You know, he goes a few picks later because he's on the Browns. People are fading that. They don't like that. Or the pick of Sampson. I'd be happy to select him. I will say one thing. I'm drafting Quinshon Judkins over RJ Harvey 10 times out of 10. No doubt, zero doubt. If you do it the other way, you're not playing smart. I'll move into the next topic. So next topic, Omarion Hampton. Now, I think that Omarion Hampton will quickly push Najee Harris aside. Now, let's get into why. So Hampton was an absolute workhorse in his final 2 college seasons at UNC. In 2023, in 13 games, 253 carries, 1,504 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5.9 yards a carry, and 22 catches, 222 yards and a touchdown. Then he followed it up with more carries in fewer games, 1,660 yards, 15 touchdowns, the same 5.9 yards to carry, and 38 catches, 375 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This is a 3-down back. This is a workhorse, efficient, good touchdowns, everything we want to see for success in the NFL. Now, Hampton went to the Chargers with a 22nd overall pick in the 1st round. That's very, very good draft capital. Most first-round running backs are highly successful, especially those who had college production like Omarion Hampton at a workhorse level, which he did. Now, Najee Harris signed a 1-year, $5.25 million contract with the Chargers with leveled incentives for rushing yards over 1,050. Now, I find a few things interesting about this. Number one, the Chargers are literally incentivized not to use Najee Harris. Number two, Najee Harris was right below 1,050 rushing yards all 3 seasons from 2022 to 2024. The only year of his career he's hit any of these incentives was 2021. And if he couldn't do it playing alongside Jaylen Warren, do we think he's going to do it playing alongside Omarion Hampton, who's 100 times better? Besides the incentives, this contract size for Harris is more of a veteran 1B in this market. It's not a starting contract, and it's only 1 year. So I value Hampton as a clear tier 2 rookie. To me, pretty clear. Ashton Jeanty is tier 1. In Superflex, I throw Cam Ward in tier 2. And then I've got Hampton, McMillan, and Travis Hunter as the next 3. Again, Hampton wasn't going to come up as a buy. He's not really a buy. He wasn't going to come up as a sell. He's not really a sell. He's my Dynasty RB4, so he's not a sell. But spending the 102 or 103 on him in a Superflex rookie draft isn't as intriguing probably as what you can get for trading the pick away, but he is valuable. So the return for those top picks better be strong. And again, on the Patreon is more where I do these types of trading out types of things. You can also see my rookie ranks on there. Now, again, another player, Mason Taylor, not really a buy, not really a sell. I've seen him go all over the map. Sometimes he goes way too high. Sometimes he goes way too low. He went too high to be a sleeper. He's certainly not a sleeper. But I wanted to discuss him because I haven't really done that. So in 2024, in 12 games, he had 55 catches, 546 yards, 2 touchdowns, 45.5 yards a game. I do like that production at age 20 in his third year. He was also somewhat relevant in 2022 and 2023. He wasn't irrelevant. He was at least a part of the offense. But this is not high-end production. He's never done it. He's never had high-end production at the college level. I do feel as if there's a possibility, or even the most likely outcome, is that Mason Taylor is next in the line of their tight ends. They're drafted. They're good for real life. They maybe even get contract extensions, but they're not really for fantasy football what we want. Now, Taylor went in the second round with 42nd overall pick to the Jets. Now, I feel like some people see the Jets as a good landing spot. Some people see the Jets as a bad landing spot. Those who see the Jets as a good landing spot are saying the Jets are light on receiving options. Their only real wide receivers, Garrett Wilson. Other than that, it's like Alan Lazard, Malachi Corley, Josh Reynolds. These are not real wide receivers. And Taylor's the clear day one starter at tight end because the other players are Jeremy Ruckert and Stone Smart. So for those reasons, it could be a good situation. Now, others are saying because of Justin Fields, it's a bad situation. However, I don't want to overvalue the situation. One, because Fields may not be the starter. And then two, because the Jets are obviously eventually going to find another wide receiver. You're not going to have a team that only has one relevant wide receiver for a long period of time. So Taylor's going to have to compete for targets at some point against stronger competition than now. So again, I'd be happy to draft Taylor if he slides down the board. I don't want to reach for him. I don't want to draft him just because I have a needed tight end. I've seen him go in the mid-late third in some drafts. I've seen him go in the mid-second in others. So, those are very, very varied prices. Some people, I think, like I said, don't want to draft a Jet. They're afraid of Justin Fields. I will say Cole Kmet, very similar player to Taylor, had his best season with Fields as his quarterback. So it is possible that Mason Taylor could produce with Justin Fields. So again, if he becomes a value, I'd be happy to take a shot on him. But kind of like a lot of this class, I'm just not excited. And not a class I'm trading into, not a class I'm giving future picks up for, not a class I'm trading up. But Taylor's someone I'd be happy to draft if he comes at a value. Now, if you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. I'm offering a 50% discount off your first month at all tiers using the code TylerYT. You can get my Dynasty and rookie rankings, all my rookie content, access to Discord, all my write-ups, direct message fantasy advice, and the ability to ask in advance questions for the YouTube videos, which will come at the end of this video. Tiers begin at just $5 a month, $250 with the discount. If you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my Why You Should Join the Patreon videos on the channel. They're under Patreon promos on the home page. Now, to get this discount, go up to the top right corner, patreon.com/fantasy advice. And at checkout, type in the code TylerYT, and you'll get 50% off your first month at whatever tier you choose. And I really appreciate everyone who signs up. This will be the way to get interactive advice from me moving forward. And it will be the only way to do that, at least during the off season. For Dynasty, the free content will be the YouTube videos. Any other Dynasty advice will go through exclusively through the Patreon. With that said, I'll move into my next topic. So my next topic, the Texans drafted 2 excellent rookie wide receivers in Jayden Higgins and Jaylin Noel. So this takeaway is less about the prospect profiles of Jayden Higgins and Jaylin Noel, both of whom I liked in the pre-draft process. Did write-ups on them on the Patreon. I expected both players to go in the mid-second round, so I was pleasantly surprised by the draft capital of Higgins and a bit disappointed by Noel. Now, the Texans drafted Higgins with the 34th overall pick and Noel with the 79th. So it's interesting. Higgins and Noel were, of course, teammates at Iowa State. When both were on the field, Higgins was slightly better, but not this much better. I would have thought, again, they would have been closer in draft capital. But they're completely different types of wide receivers. So let's talk about how they might fit on the Texans. Higgins, a bigger-bodied outside wide receiver, while Noel excels in the slot. Of course, Nico Collins is locked in on the Texans as their wide receiver 1. outside wide receiver one, that is. Collins is signed through 2027 on a bargain contract in today's wide receiver market. The Texans read the market and got Collins on a steal. Higgins will be the outside wide receiver 2 immediately. Noel is the eventual play at slot wide receiver. He'll have to compete with Christian Kirk for that role to open 2025. And Kirk is on a 1-year deal. Now, Stroud is a strong passer. Stroud doesn't run. He can run a little, but he doesn't run that much. So strong passer, doesn't run. So it's a type of offense where, am I going to say 3 wide receivers could have fantasy relevance? No. Could you have Nico Collins being a wide receiver 1, Jayden Higgins as a mid wide receiver 3, and Jaylin Noel as like a wide receiver 4 or 5 streamer? Yes, could absolutely happen. And if there's an injury, could one of the other 2 wide receivers step up? Absolutely. So it's that type of offense, an offense we want to target. Now, my big takeaway from this actually has nothing to do with Higgins or Noel. It's that Tank Dell's career is likely over as a fantasy asset. The Texans told us what they thought of Dell during this NFL draft with their moves. They desperately need offensive line help. They needed it. They traded away offensive linemen. They needed help at that position. Despite that, they spent not 1, but 2 of their day 2 picks at wide receiver. They have Collins under contract through 2027 and Higgins and Noel through 2028. Clearly, I don't think they ever expect Dell to come back because Dell was someone who could play in the slot. They have Noel now for that. They have another outside wide receiver. The trio of Collins, Higgins, and Noel makes perfect sense as a wide receiver 1, 2, 3. So I don't see what the role is for Dell. He's not coming back in 2025. If he does in 2026, it's a backup flyer type option. They're not expecting anything from him. He'll turn 27 in 2026. I just have no interest really in waiting on Tank Dell. He wasn't even that good in 2024. He's never been good since his 2023 injury. I take any 3rd round pick to move on from Dell, get rid of him. I'm just not waiting for Tank Dell at this point. I think his fantasy career is over. It's sad, but I think that that's the reality. Now, my last takeaway has nothing to do with any specific player. I mean, I guess it kind of does with Ashton Jeanty at 101. 2025 Dynasty rookie drafts have no consensus, and I mean no consensus after the 101. Ashton Jeanty has gone 101 in every single rookie draft that I've seen. I have yet to see a rookie draft where he has not gone 101. Beyond that, there's zero consensus on basically anything else. This is not the draft to rebuild your team like 2024 was. To give you an idea, in 2024, I had, in Superflex Tight End Premium, I had 8 players ranked ahead of where I have Omarion and Hampton, my 103, ranked now. So that was the draft to rebuild your entire team. This is not. In Superflex, it's lacking in, Cam Ward at best would have been the QB4 last year. He was clearly behind the top 3 quarterbacks last year. At best, he would have been the QB4. And there's no other quarterback who really should be worth the 1st round pick, but because the draft is so weak, Jackson Dart is in my 1st round. So it is a weak draft, especially for Superflex. Now, what do? Not trading up. This is not the year to trade up. I'm fine trading down. I'm fine trading out. What is trading out? Trading out could be for a veteran. Trading out could be for future picks. I'm fine with either of those types of moves. Trading down, I'm also fine with. This is my biggest takeaway from the rookie draft process so far, because now I've actually had some time to see rookie drafts be completed. Plenty of Patreon rookie drafts have been finished. I've seen what has happened. I have so many rankings disagreements with consensus, but even consensus. The consensus, I don't even know what that is at this point. There's so many different opinions. Every manager has wildly different rankings and valuations. Most of the time in Superflex, I see the same top 5, but I see Quinshon Judkins go in there. I don't have him in there. I see Trevion Henderson go in the top 5. Not for me. I've seen the tight ends go in the top 5 in tight end premium, which I may or may not do, depending on how big the premium is. So because there's all these differences of opinion, I'm mostly looking to trade down because that's a great way to get the same player you would have taken plus something. That's my biggest idea. And then trade out for veterans or future picks. I have not made a lot of picks this year. It's been a lot of trading out, actually. Eventually trading down and then trading out for something future or a veteran, even if I started off with a bunch of picks. Now, how do you do this? Well, specific examples I'll go through on the Patreon. I'll walk you through your league. But patreon.com/fantasy advice. I'll do all of that for you. But in general, this is just my general strategy. I never recommend trading up really, but this year of all years, I just can't imagine that I would. That's totally out of the question for me outside of very, very, very rare scenarios. Trading down, trading out, those are the moves you want to do this year. So I've got a few Patreon questions and then we'll wrap up the show. What are some general tips for Dynasty Best Ball startup drafts? Do we approach it like a regular startup or should we prioritize stacking and boom players? So mostly like a regular startup. Yes, stacking can be important in Dynasty Best Ball, but teams change, so it's harder to do that over a long period of time. The one thing I will say, low-end wide receivers who in regular Dynasty are useless because you have to pick the week to start them have some value. Who's a good example? Like Alec Pierce. You never actually want to start him, but he does have some startable weeks. So in a best ball, someone like Alec Pierce could be valuable, whereas in regular Dynasty, that is a roster clogger that you do not want, right? So, that will be an example. But outside of like the margins like that, not really. There's not too much change. How do we determine if it's better to just take the rest of a player's career versus trading that player away for picks or youth? Yeah. So that's very player dependent, very value dependent. I'm trying to think of an example of a player that I feel like I would be happy to take the rest of their career. It has to be an older player, but one who doesn't have that much value. Like AJ Brown is too expensive to be in that category. Someone like Jaylen Waddle. Jaylen Waddle, I think, is going to continue his career. He is going to have many years of that career. He is going to continue to produce something for that career. Could Jaylen Waddle be had at a price that is worth whatever that is worth? Yes. So that's a player maybe I would consider, but it is so player dependent that there's not a hard and fast rule on how to do that. Unfortunately, you just have to evaluate each situation independently. So sadly, it's player dependent. Who's been your most difficult player to evaluate this offseason? Chris Olave, definitely a player hard to evaluate. Was he going to be replaced as a wide receiver one? What's going on with the quarterback situation? Is he healthy? Does the team want him there long term? Are they going to sign him to a long-term contract? Could they trade him away? Are they going to trade for another wide receiver? Just so many variables. And like the thing about his concussions, we are not going to know the answer to that. There's no way I can tell you how he's doing with that. That information is not available to me. So I would say Chris Olave would be on that list. And then maybe Breece Hall. We know that Breece Hall was elite. Is Breece Hall ever going to be elite again? I don't know. Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis were good. How much work are they going to get? Hall's in the final year of his rookie deal. Are they going to extend him? I doubt it. It's a new coaching staff. How are they going to use him? So I would say Breece Hall would also be a very difficult player to evaluate. But those are the two, Breece Hall and Chris Olave, that come to mind. Is there ever a point, for the sake of contending, you're okay to just keep some of the running backs you have, even if you're getting a great return? Again, this is trade dependent. How good is the return? How good is the running back? Like if I'm getting a good return for like Aaron Jones, yeah, I'll probably just take it. If, it's Christian McCaffrey, then, you can win a league with Christian McCaffrey on his own. So it better be a really good return if I'm contending and trading Christian McCaffrey. I'm not just going to trade Christian McCaffrey to trade Christian McCaffrey, right? So again, it's so trade offer dependent. Yeah, but yes, the answer to this question is yes. But if the offer is ridiculous enough, I'd probably still take it. Does that help? How do you deal with toxic non-running back assets, guys that no one wants, but even as a throw-up, but technically should be rostered? Probably just hold them. Hold them and wait for start-sit season when you get to a point where there are bye weeks and teams are desperate, and then you can sell them then. But if you can't sell them, you can't sell them. Hang on to them and wait until later. Now, if you like the video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing, and don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, it's available on the Patreon. Dynasty content year-round and rookie content as well. 50% discount at all tiers using code TylerYT. You can sign up in the top right corner, patreon.com/fantasy advice. Every sign up helps support my independent content. But once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.